Okay, today we are going to be talking about some of the themes found in O Pioneers. So, the first theme that we've discussed several times within this class this past semester, and a theme that is also found in O Pioneers, is the theme of nature, especially acting as a teacher. So, in O Pioneers, nature is used to help characters develop and evolve and transform. I think a relatable text author for this would be Jonathan Edwards. Jonathan Edwards wrote many works where he draws from nature how one can become more pure and holy through their experiences in nature. Here we see a quote: "There seemed to be, as it were, a calm, sweet cast or appearance of divine glory in almost everything." And many of the characters in O Pioneers use nature to achieve that sense of divinity or purity or just holiness in general that help them develop throughout the story. Okay, so our next theme is small towns versus big cities. So the theme of small towns versus big cities also plays an important role in O Pioneers because it creates a valuable difference within many of the characters found in the story. I think a very relatable text and author would be Our Town by Thornton Wilder. So in Our Town, this story touches on the idea of what it means to grow up in a small town rather than a big city, and how that affects your character as a person and how you treat and act around those around you. Obviously, small town folk in Our Town and O Pioneers appear to be more introverted, and they tend to not really care about anything going on outside their town. They're very much more focused on the town and themselves. And this isn't necessarily a bad thing, but it does give them the illusion that they have simpler lives than those that do live in cities, when in fact it's oftentimes the opposite, where their lives are just as complex, if not even more complex, than those who travel to these larger cities. Okay, so our next theme is dangerous spaces. And dangerous spaces is just the idea of the mental thought processes found in many of the characters we've looked at this past semester. And many of these mental thought processes can be found in characters in O Pioneers. I think one of the most relatable texts and authors for this thematic idea would be Ambrose Bierce's An Occurrence at Owl Creek Bridge, where he has the main character, Peyton Farquhar, go on this psychological adventure where he really explores the depths of his mind and what the mental state of a person can do, and help them to appear and react. And it's very interesting taking that work and looking at O Pioneers, because we have a similar plot line with Emil, where he undergoes a mental struggle when his friend dies, and Frank Shibata, who is the husband of the girl that Emil loves, also goes through a similar mental struggle where Catherine explores this idea of dangerous spaces, and ultimately this theme of dangerous spaces and just psychological torment in both O Pioneers and An Occurrence at Owl Creek Bridge leads to the demise of just many of the characters found in these stories. Also, Dangerous Spaces touches on many Gothic tropes. It's traditionally a Gothic characteristic. And along with Dangerous Spaces, isolation and wild nature are also both found in An Occurrence at Owl Creek Bridge, as well as O Pioneers. Okay, so our last major theme is migration. And migration is possibly one of the most important themes found in O Pioneers. I think a relatable author for this would be Anne Bradstreet. In both O Pioneers and Anne Bradstreet's works, women overcome many social and physical barriers, and through migration, they're able to really make the most for themselves and for the people around them. And both protagonists really push for new opportunities to better themselves in the situations they're in, and just through migration. They have the ability to overcome so many barriers that were not thought possible during this time period. So in conclusion, O Pioneers it's a great culmination of many of the themes we've touched on over this past semester. With everything from Gothic tropes to migration to new opportunities to big cities versus small towns and dangerous spaces. O Pioneers it really sets the bar for what American literature can be, and it's just a great way to wrap up this semester and have a fuller outlook at just all the themes and thematic ideas we looked at this past semester.